everyone. My name is Andrew Redden. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Groundhog. Just before I dig in, can I get a show of hands? Who here is hacking this weekend? Okay, cool. And who here would call themselves an entrepreneur? Full-time, part-time, whatever it might be. Cool. All right, cool. So this talk is going to be kind of framed about what do you do after you build a really cool hackathon project and you either A, want to build it, start a company, or it's a feature for something that may be valuable. And so what is that like? What is it like raising money on something that you put together in 36 hours? So a little bit about me. I come from a really small place in Canada, Halifax, Nova Scotia. We don't have a large blockchain community. Startup community is just kind of growing, tech in that size. We have to export ourselves a lot, hi Denver, in order to actually, gain a lot of knowledge and have it some concrete experiences that actually help drive a business and drive value proposition. A part of my journey, I've been involved in open source for a number of years now. I first discovered blockchain back in 2010 and been kind of pushing forward in that regard. I'm an active member of the Meta Cartel. Right, exactly. What is it? How does the Cobra dance go? We're gonna figure that out still, right? Okay. I joined Ardai about 6 months ago in terms of helping, shape the project and kind of pushing that forward. So shout out to any Ardai people that are watching. I'm also help driving meta transactions with the gas station network. User experiences for everybody in the Ethereum space need to improve if we're going to attract a bunch of users. I'll talk a little bit more about that later in terms of how it comes to driving a value proposition and attracting users to your product, I also helped write a standard, EIP 1337, or something that we're trying to get to be a standard, It's about reoccurring payments on Ethereum to drive better business models for people. And that's what Groundhog is all about. So it's a platform to allow for reoccurring payments inside SaaS products, dApps, checkout experiences, very similar to Stripe or PayPal checkout for that regard. And something that happened that was pretty cool last year, we saw the launch of a new stablecoin, DAI, replacing Sai. And somebody had to sign a transaction to make that happen. And that just happened to be me. And so it was a pretty interesting year. I'm a competitive programmer and have been for a number of years. And I think this might be my 30th or 40th hackathon that I've attended to date. Back in 2016, we attended the largest at the time online virtual blockchain hackathon put on by the United Arab Emirates. So I was very fortunate to be one of 4 teams selected as finalists to go and attend the World Government Summit that year in 2017 to be recognized for our product HyperGive. And so it was tackling the challenges around homelessness and food insecurity. Just as a really unfortunate fact, 1 in 7 Americans don't know where their next meal is going to come from sometime in the next 3 to 5 days. And that's pretty staggering considering, where we are today and what we're building on in the future of money. It's not entirely all-inclusive. In 2018, I attended Techstars for a product that actually was how Groundhog came to be. We are a subscription service targeting crypto consumers, based around the ICO phase and projects. And so it's actually during Techstars that we attended ETH Denver, the very first one. And that's where we had the idea, because one of our pain points in our business was how shitty and how hard it is to monetize with subscriptions. So I don't know if anyone here has built something that they're trying to get paid for right now in Web3, but it's a challenge. As frictionless as we try to make it, there's still a lot of hoops and hurdles that a lot of users have to go through. So we tried tackling that at that event. We did pretty well. We placed second overall. But what happened after that was this is Groundhog. What happened as a result of creating, the very very beta MVP, I wouldn't even call it an MVP version of Groundhog. It placed well, but you think you're on top of the world. You get a ton of interest coming, or inbound interest. You think people want to throw money at you. You're going to go raise a ton of money. I'm in Techstars right now, so we're already in the process of raising money on a previous product. But the amount of interest around subscriptions and being able to monetize a business, it was crazy. So you start thinking to yourself, you're like, well, we thought we were building a feature for our current business to just roll it out for a subset of our users that were complaining around how hard it was to go and do a 7-step checkout for an invoice. So that's what it was. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, you name it across the board. But people had to come and actually pay us every month for our service. And it's a daunting task to chase down users and say, hey, I want the money for the service that you're getting provided right now, or we're going to need to churn and terminate. I don't want that, you don't want that, but that's just how business works. And so we pivoted aggressively. Our previous product was a service, so the service closed out after a couple months, and we went all in on this concept of reoccurring payments. And how do we enable this in the community? Like, what does that actually mean? How do we build a billion-dollar business in Web3? That's the thought process we have while we're in the middle of Techstars. So, you've got an MVP that you built in 36 hours. You probably faked a bunch of it. Let's just be honest. That's how it goes. Because a hackathon is all about what you present and what could be possible, not always what you did right now. But is what you're trying to accomplish theoretically possible? Great. But production is a whole other thing, especially if you're dealing with people's money like we are, commonly in cryptocurrency. And so there's monitoring, there's logging, reporting, compliance if required for your industry. There's also the hosting of it, the deployment aspect. You've got all the technical debt that comes with what you built in 36 hours. Your product's probably not even real if it's an MVP, so that's a large-scale refactor. If you factor in test nets, you got to start looking at how you're going to manage these experiences for your users. Are you a developer-focused product? If you are, how's your documentation? How much time have you actually spent on thinking about the pitfalls of the security of your product? How fast can you actually run right now if you were to given the opportunity, 100 grand? Where is it going to take you? Do you know how to drive a business? Have you ever run a business? These are all the things that you often get faced if you get first place or second place in these events, because honestly, it means you've built something that's captured, the imagination and the hearts of the judges, the audiences, and they want to see you succeed. And so there are many paths that you can take to do that. Accelerators are really common. Grants, Gitcoin grants, Moloch DAO, Metacartel, Techstars, shout out represent. Y Combinator is common. I don't have one on here, but I should. Tachyon, EF grants. You can raise money from your community. You don't necessarily have to go the venture capital route. You don't necessarily have to go, if you can be, subscriptions, to show them a little more. If you could turn them on today and people would pay you for your business and you can be revenue positive with 20 users, why would you raise money immediately? At some point in time, you're going to need money, but money is often designed to help you grow and scale your business, change your product in a way that's going to attract tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of users. Because venture capital money, they want you to put money in and turn capital into code as aggressively, as fast as possible to gather the largest scale user base you can to turn profit. And that kind of thing doesn't always work in our ecosystem. So these are alternative funding methods that are really good. But they only take you so far sometimes. We're just starting to see quadratic freelancers coming out where you could actually, maintain and, be self-sustained by the public goods ecosystem for the work you do. And that's amazing. But for some products, venture capital money does apply. These systems do apply because they generally teach you how to run a business more effectively, to look at your market and to actually see how you can capture and penetrate that. Because if Web3 is going to be sustainable, our businesses need to be sustainable, right? The grant money isn't going to be there for forever, but we need to be able to see how we can drive real value inside Web3 for both users and consumers alike. But if you are going out and you're like, I'm going to go raise money, there's so much money, people want to just give me free money. The rule of thumb is if there's money on the table, take it. But if you think you're ready for a big fish, you're probably wrong. Because venture capitalists are very smart, very, very smart. They know how to turn capital into code. They've seen it and they've done it. Very good ones know when a company's doing it effectively or not. So I urge you out here, all you would-be hackers and entrepreneurs and anyone raising money who goes through the fundraising process, I'm going to show a book that I read that I felt was very transformative for how I approached investors. And we learned about this in Techstars. It's Venture Deals by Brad Feld and Jason Mendelson. Just don't let the VC outsmart you. Just you can approach your valuation as a business. So let's say you create a really cool hackathon project. What's that worth? Do you know? Venture capital is going to put a number on it. Do you agree with it? When raising money or approaching these things, try to find an equally uncomfortable point when it comes to talking about what something is worth, because then you're onto something. But I seriously recommend it. It's going to help you navigate the waters when it comes to fundraising, trying to really drive your product. And if you actually manage to get someone that's interested in driving around and you come informed about how this is actually going to go, it's going to translate in numbers. I promise you that. So you are going to go raise capital. One thing you're going to realize, you're in the blockchain ecosystem if you're raising a Web3, for those that applies. Nobody has a clue. Sometimes we don't have a clue. We push this crazy vision. But you're going to beat people that you're in an education-focused business. Our industry requires education to be provided up front for almost everything we talk about. How many people here had to travel to this conference because they wanted to have the leveling up conversation? They wanted to meet new people who knew things that they didn't know and they could contribute and grow. I know personally I did. And so when you go out and talk to an investor or anyone that has capital that want to provide, they're in the same kind of business. right? You are educating them because they're like, oh, there's this whole hot new market, and you guys won something. Obviously, it's cool. How do I help? How do I capture that? So you need to be well-versed in talking about your product, your design, whatever it is that you're putting, in a way that people who don't know anything about the space can start to grok it and understand. Because most people you're talking to aren't developers. If your thing is so esoteric and abstract because it provides some efficiency gain or whatever, like, you can't, like, that is not what you're selling. Because people aren't listening, they're not tuning in, they're just tuning out. Like, a golden rule of raising capital is everybody in the room is looking for the easiest path off the highway to not give a shit about what you're talking about. So don't ever let them take that road. So, product, or is it a feature? Do you require some other third-party service to live on for forever? You know, can someone cut you off? Who's your competition? If you don't have any competition at all, venture capital or potentially a lot of things are going to look at you and say, you know, it's not worth doing. If it was, there'd be 12 people doing it right now. How big can the market possibly be for what you're doing? What's the risk associated with it? How fast could it grow? Is it a 1-year problem, a 2-year problem, a 5-year problem? Is it never actually going to be like a hair on fire problem? Can you be easily replaced? You know, we work in the open source ecosystem. Like, a lot of the things we publish when it comes to like the code we write and the software or smart contracts that we create, like, it's all open, so it can be audited, looked at thoroughly. But, you know, we've seen that a couple times, like in the ecosystem, when EtherDelta changed hands, you know, ForkDelta came out almost immediately because no one wanted to use new contracts. They had associated this level of trust with the old ones, so a fork was created. Team dynamics, like these people that you're building with, you created this cool project. How well do you know them? Can you raise capital with them? Do you want to tie yourself to these people for potentially 2, 3, 5, 12, 20 years? Is this even real? LOL. I can't even tell you how many times people look at you and say, that's not possible. While raising money, while talking, you educate somebody, and they still don't believe that what you're telling them is possible. And then the dreaded question. Because if you've managed to navigate all of these, you've gotten to the very, very end of everything. What's your business model? I want to make money as a venture capitalist. I want you to make money as someone that I'm going to invest in. So how are we making money? It's a problem we all face today in the ecosystem. Most people don't have a clue. Are you going to charge subscriptions? Yes, you should be. You taking transaction fees? You know, coming up soon, is it going to be based on staking rewards? Are you going to be entirely sufficient based on grants? You know, shout out to the community for supporting ETH2 clients. I think that's amazing. Or is your goal to simply get acquired? Like, you know, is your hackathon project this thing you want to go create a bunch of noise and hopefully get scooped up to one of the larger firms? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But these are the things that you need to be prepared to talk about when it comes to how you're actually going to raise capital and go down the road. It's not easy. If it was, everyone would do it. But I will tell you, it's an incredibly rewarding journey. I'm Andrew Redden. I left a little bit of time for questions. I care a lot about DeFi. I try to use DAI daily. That's like the screenshot from while I was on the RDAI Summit. I'm a Monolith user. I think it's great. Yeah, happy to take any questions. And if none, sorry it was a little fast. I'm around all day. Hit me up. Thank you.